10 weeks in the books. We have our first college football playoff rankings. I don't want to be sad. The season's going along. My team season's going good. William might be a fan of basketball here soon.
Want to know?
Want to know mentality. That's what you got to have.
New Hampshire, baby. Took him to the woodshed, too. Beat him by 50. Dude, I could. Basketball, we're a basketball school.
Basketball school?
There's no way they let me down.
Yeah. There's no way that Clemson basketball will ever let somebody down.
Never has. Do not go back and watch the first round of the March Madness last year. Do not. And just understand that it was a hurricane. People were worried about what was going on, and we may have lost to McNeese State. But there's no way that this year, this is the year they will not disappoint me.
This is the year. Final Four is coming soon.
Yep. Clemson's going 7-5 in football. We're not losing another game. Maybe.
Maybe not. They may lose this weekend again. The real question is who wins another game first between Penn State and Clemson, because
we're favorites, guys. We're favorites.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to win.
No, what's crazy, Jake, is we've been favorites in every single game we've played this year. Can you believe that?
Disgusting.
Yeah.
And you've lost 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you bet against Clemson this year, you would have made a lot of money.
Yeah, you're doing well. All you South Carolina fans who hate bet, y'all are sitting pretty right now.
Like I said, college football playoff rankings are out. Let's start talking about that. I don't want to spend too much time because while the rankings are important, they also are not because of where we're at in the season. It's still pretty early. I put out who the number 1 ranked team in the initial college football playoff rankings have been, and you added how each team finished. It's important to remember that from 2014 through 2023, there's only a 4-team playoff. But Mississippi State in 2014, they missed the playoff. Clemson 2015 lost in the national championship. Alabama in 2016 lost the national championship. Georgia in 2017 lost in the national championship. Alabama in 2018 lost in the national championship. Ohio State in 2019 lost in the semifinals. Alabama in 2020. Yeah, Alabama in 2020, they were national champions. Georgia in 2021 was national champions. Tennessee in 22 missed the playoffs. Ohio State in 23 missed the playoffs. Oregon 24 lost in the quarterfinals. And we have Ohio State ranked number 1 in our playoffs rankings. Any surprises, any shocks to you?
I think if anything shocked me, it would be how high Texas was. And I don't know if I'm too low on Texas or if the committee's too high, or maybe somebody's just right. I just feel like they haven't been punished enough. And call me biased, but the way they've looked this year, they shouldn't be ranked as high as they are. I believe they're at what, 10?
They're at 11.
They're at 11, which is too high. It's too high. And then we had people out there arguing that Alabama should be higher. There's no way that Alabama, because they have more ranked wins than any of the top 3 teams in front of them. Conveniently skipping out the fact that they got their tails cut by Florida State. They didn't lose; they got their tails cut. But Texas being at 11, I thought was too rich. Notre Dame, I believe, is good enough to be number 10. But when you talk rankings, having 2 losses, that's a tricky one. But I'm not mad about Notre Dame being 10, but I am mad about Texas being 11. Does that make sense? I know that's kind of contradictory, but if you watch the games, Notre Dame has looked phenomenal. Texas has not.
Notre Dame has handled business.
Right. But besides the Texas game, who Texas played last week?
They played Vandy last week. They were up big, and then Vandy came back. We'll talk about that game for a second.
But that was the best they've looked all year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even close. Like, Arch Manning looked like what we've expected from him all year. The defense looked great up until the end of the fourth quarter, and you can argue the referees kind of gave him a little bit here and there. But Texas, if they play like they did against Vanderbilt, which is probably why they're so high. That's the last game that the committee's seen. And, you look at the record and like, man, look what they just did to Vanderbilt. And then if I had one more thing that I'm shocked about, I thought Virginia was a little low. I thought that was kind of bullcrap. Yes, they lost to NC State, but look, NC State just beat Georgia Tech. So they're not a terrible team. And I think Virginia's earned to be a little bit higher than 14. I would have Virginia in the 12 range. But that essentially tells us that the committee says the ACC is so bad, the only way you're going to get in is by winning the conference championship.
Yeah, the ACC, I mean, they've got, 4 teams between 14 and 18, and it feels like only one of them is going to get in. And
Unless a couple of them went out. I think if Louisville, if Miami, Georgia Tech, if they went out, maybe not Miami. Pitt being at 24, I mean, gosh, if they went out, maybe they sneak in there. I'd like to see the stat on any unranked or like 20 and below ranked teams that have made it into the college football playoff who weren't in the first ranking, like what that stat looks like too. But
yeah, part of that is also it's the 12-team playoff instead of the 14 playoff, because I remember the first year Ohio State, I think, was ranked 14 and they made it a number 4. I don't know if we've had any other massive rises. The 12-team playoff, it's obviously a little bit easier. There's an automatic bid somewhere in there. I know that Georgia Tech, I forget, a couple of these teams do play each other. I believe Georgia Tech and Pitt play each other. Louisville has a fairly easy schedule. Virginia has a fairly easy schedule. Miami and Georgia Tech both play Pitt. So Pitt loses any game, they're out. A third loss is going to put an ACC team out for sure, and they don't even have a chance to make it then.
And it's the timing of the Pitt game. The Pitt game is the last game of the season for Miami.
Yeah.
So if they lose that one, it's over.
Yeah, a couple of these teams are on
life support.
Yeah, life support. You lose, you're out. Georgia Tech, it'll be very interesting if they lose to Georgia, how that's treated, because they could still make the playoff, because if they win out, they're probably in the ACC championship game.
Oh,
because
if they win out, yeah.
They'll probably be in the ACC championship game. And where do they get slotted? Like, or how hard is it going to be if they lose to Georgia? And I guess it depends on what the result is.
And
a third loss, if they lose in the ACC championship game and lose to Georgia, there's no chance they get in. They don't have good enough schedule.
And I talk about Virginia being too low. I'm not mad about Georgia Tech being at 17, and they've been flirting with disaster all year long.
Oh yeah.
Even some of the they were losing to Temple at one point this year, and ended up coming out. They were either losing or it was really, really tight.
It was tight. I don't think Temple really had the lead. I think it was like a 3-point game at one point, and then Georgia Tech pulled away.
Right. So
don't
they've
disrespect
been
Temple like that.
I wasn't trying to. Sorry, Temple talk. And but Georgia Tech has been flirting with disaster every single week they've played, and it finally came back and bit them. So I'll see how Georgia Tech responds at the end of the year. One team that I'm really wanting to see, curious to watch for the rest of the year, is Iowa.
I was just going to talk about. They put Iowa at 20, which
I love that.
There's an agenda here, one way or the other. It's Iowa has a chance if they beat Oregon. If they beat Oregon, it's a top 10 win. They have 2 losses. They should get vaulted up into the top 15 with that win easily. But also, if Oregon wins, they're going to say that Oregon beat a top 25 team, help build their case a little bit to have them be in the college football playoffs. Oregon also still has Washington on their schedule. So, and they have USC. So Oregon is not a shoo-in for the playoffs by any means. They've got 3 difficult games coming up. Iowa and Washington are both on the road. But it builds in Oregon. I think that they have a mulligan in there with basically 3 ranked teams remaining, depending on how the schedule shapes out towards the end of the year.
And then I think BYU and Texas Tech will cannibalize the Big 12, because obviously they play each other this weekend.
If BYU wins, I think they can afford a loss in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
If Texas Tech wins, then neither of them can afford another. Texas Tech with 2 losses is going to be pretty tough to keep put in there. They would have to win the Big 12. And also, if BYU wins and Texas Tech has 2 losses in conference, the second team is going to be absolute utter chaos because of the amount of tiebreakers that are involved. So,
what's more Big 12 than chaos?
Oh, true.
If you had to put one word to each conference, what would it be? Big 12 was chaos. We'll go ahead and give Big 12 chaos.
Big 10's tradition. They just love to speak tradition. Yeah. The SEC, if you ask an SEC fan, it's going to be winning. I don't know if you ask a non-SEC fan what they would
say pride.
Pride. Yeah, pride's a good one. Pride's a good one.
So we got pride, we got tradition, we got chaos, and we got don't you say
forgotten.
It. Yeah, I think that's fair. And you know what? It's they've earned it because the upper echelon of the ACC have pissed down their leg this year, starting off with Clemson.
I also think it's just, if you ask people who is in the ACC, it's almost confusing now. Like Stanford and Cal and SMU are in there, and a conference game between Cal and Boston College. Like the normal average fan is not going to look at that and be like, "Yeah, it's an ACC game."
Right, and like because of that, it causes negative publicity. But we should be talking better about SMU beating Miami. We should be talking better about Pitt. Like Pitt, where they are right now with one loss. No, they've got 2 losses. But being where they are right now at 24th, I mean, I think they're a much better team than 24th. But I could be biased. I could also be biased.
The part of it is their 2 losses were with Eli Holstein at quarterback, and then they switched to their freshman quarterback and became a totally different team.
Good point.
And one of those losses is to West Virginia, who is
terrible,
not good. West Virginia also lost to Ohio earlier this year. West Virginia is not a good program.
Walk-on red shirts were on the scene at Ohio last night.
Yeah, I love going to Ohio. It's a great stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. Absolutely beautiful stadium. Athens, Ohio, beautiful town right down there in the foothills of Ohio, Appalachia. It's a nice little drive down there. A beautiful little stadium right there.
When am I going? I need to see, how far is it from here to Athens, Ohio?
It's probably pretty far. But Athens, Ohio is a beautiful town. It's got a great stadium there. Ohio rocked the black jerseys last night, beats Daquan Finn. Daquan Finn for Parker Navarro. Good game. Daquan Finn, way too much happy feet, though. That was the one thing I noticed, is he was always looking to take off and run. Also, sat next to the Hula Bowl. That was pretty cool. They invited the walk-on redshirts to come, except it's not in Hawaii. It's in Florida. Don't ask me why a Hula Bowl is in Florida.
Everybody hula's in Florida. I will be huluing. I might have to Hulu if YouTube and ESPN don't get this together. But what stadium in Florida?
I forget where it is, but it's an all-star game for college football players that is before even the national championship. So that's why they're scouting MAC players.
That's beautiful.
Speaking of chaos that we talked about, Hugh Freeze is out at Auburn.
What?
I think this was like the worst kept secret. His buyout only being $15 million, and which looks like pennies compared to some of these other buyouts that are happening right now. I mean, there was all sorts of rumors about Hugh Freeze was golfing all the time, that he was skipping this, skipping that to go golfing. I
also heard he was not golfing. He was just going to go watch people golf.
They said that at one point too, is he skipped something on Friday, and went to the course just to watch other people golf.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You went to the strip club, but you weren't doing anything there. You're just there. Hey.
Yeah.
Did Hugh Freeze just save Dave Aranda and Luke Fickell their jobs?
I put this out there. I think Mark Stoops is another one on that list.
I think he just saved all of them.
I mean, when you talk about the openings, not that Baylor and Wisconsin are going to go after the same guys as Auburn, but when you have this many job openings, there's a trickle-down effect. Because normally when you would get a guy that is a mid-tier, like a John Sumrall would be an interesting one to go to Baylor. But does all of a sudden
are you going to convince him to go there instead of Auburn, LSU? I mean, if LSU calls John Sumrall, I mean, he's going. Florida. Like, if any of those schools call and Baylor calls, you're not answering the Baylor call.
Usually you only get 1 or 2 A-tier jobs that become available. And not that I think Auburn's the best job, but when you talk about in terms of winning, in terms of expectations, in terms of money and power, Auburn, LSU, Florida, Penn State, like those are 4 tier 1 jobs that became open. And you can rank them however you want, but those are 4 tier 1 jobs that became open. No offense to Baylor and Wisconsin and Kentucky, they're all a slot lower.
Right. Now, if this was 10 years ago, Wisconsin, maybe the conversation's a little bit different. Maybe not even 10 years ago, but in the Bo Pelini days, when they were just wrecking people, rickshawing people, this is a different conversation. Maybe Wisconsin is towing their way. I mean, I think they would be on the same line as a Florida in that aspect, but it's not 10 years ago. It is today, and they're in a really crappy situation. They have been for a few years, so it's crummy. for the Badgers. I love it when the Badgers are good. It adds an extra little wrinkle of chaos in the Big Ten. But in other news with Wisconsin, did you see how much money they make off of alcohol sales?
Yeah, they make like $3 million a year off of
Yeah,
alcohol sales.
So out of the teams that were looked at, I think there was 40 teams that were looked at. Wisconsin was number one at $3 million, and they were $1 million more than the second place team.
Yeah. Matt Brown does a phenomenal job finding all this information. I think you can find him, Matt Brown, CFB, I think is what his Twitter handle is. Does a phenomenal job. He was the one that was doing a lot of finding the information about the college football game.
Mm-hmm.
Always finds these like weird and quirky things in college football that people are obsessed and love, because afterwards people were always clamoring about their own team. So he said, fine. I went and submitted another 75 Freedom of Information Acts to get alcohol sales. He said part of it was, though, it depends if the school controls the alcohol sales versus if it's a third-party vendor. So
yeah,
they don't always have the information. So it depends on who is controlling the sale of the alcohol. But I think it's hilarious that it's not surprising, of all places, Wisconsin. Like, honestly, almost disappointed that it's only $3 million. Like, I figure, watching that team, you probably need some alcohol to get yourself through the game.
You're an air raid team with a pro style roster.
Let's talk about this past weekend's action. We're recording a day late because I was at Maction, so I kind of want to run through this a little bit quicker and talk about more of the upcoming games this upcoming weekend. But let's talk about the ACC. Miami goes down to SMU in overtime. NC State takes down Georgia Tech. The ACC waters, which we already talked about their rankings, just got way muddier.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. This is going to be very similar to the Big 12 last year. There's going to be a lot of scenarios that could play out. I think there's going to be some tiebreaker scenarios. This is going to be fun. Fun fact, SMU had the second to last ranked pass defense, and it looked pretty good against Miami. And is that more SMU stepping up, or is that more Carson Becking? I don't know. But actually,
Kevin Jennings had a good game too.
Kevin Jennings looked phenomenal. He really did. And he diced up that Miami team. So, I mean, if I had to describe this,
365 through the air, they only ran for 23 yards and he threw for 365 yards,
which is insane. And these people on Twitter, on X, the everything app, who wanted just to dance on my grave. When I said that Miami would go 7-5, one of my biggest reasons was the secondary. I thought it was insane to replace an entire secondary, Jake, whether it was through the transfer portal or through younger guys coming in. I thought that was insane, and that was one of my reasons for having them as low as they were. Plus, I don't trust Carson Beck. 7-5 might have been a little low, but you saw what happens when you face a formidable passing attack and what SMU has, and they diced up that secondary. Because go back and look at Miami's schedule. The two losses they have, what are both those teams excellent at, Jake?
Well,
throwing the football. Louisville can throw the football with anybody. SMU can throw the football with anybody. Both of those teams are top 15 passing offenses. So
CJ Carr would dice them up right now.
Yeah, if CJ Carr and that Notre Dame team played them today, it would be much different. CJ Carr played them, was it the first game of the season?
Yeah.
And I don't think the offense truly trusted CJ Carr at that point to let it rip. And they obviously didn't trust something about Jeremiah Love, which is really weird. Maybe the game was rigged. I don't know. I'm not going to say that.
Can I tell you a fun fact about this game?
Yes.
So SMU finished with 23 rushing yards in the game. This game obviously went to overtime. SMU went to overtime with -2 rushing yards. They ran the ball for 25 yards in overtime to score their touchdown. They were at -2, and every play for them in overtime was a rushing attempt. Kevin Jennings rushed for 5 yards. Harden rushed for 3 yards. Harden rushed for 3 yards. Harden rushed for 6 yards. Harden rushed for 7 yards. Harden rushed for 1 yard, touchdown.
Wow. I like that. That's freaking just cool.
The stones to say, we haven't been able to run the ball all day, but we're going to run the ball to win the game. Like, that's important to be able to do. Not that SMU is going to make the playoffs, but they do have a shot in the ACC because they are 4-1. Two of their losses are outside of the conference to Baylor
TCU and
TCU.
Baylor, yeah.
They have Boston College, Louisville, and Cal. I mean, two of those games are very clearly winnable because Boston College is absolutely terrible. They do go to Cal, which could be interesting.
There might be
They lose, they get them at home. That is going to be something that's important. There is a path for SMU to finish 7-1 in conference.
Jake, there might be 400 points scored in that Louisville game.
That would be so much fun.
Whatever the over under is, which they're probably going to put it in the 80s, take the over. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the over under is. Take the over in that game, which means with how my picking has gone this year, there's going to be like 20 points scored in the whole game.
Yeah, it's going to snow in Dallas that day.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech takes their first loss as well. I mean, this is a significant setback for a Georgia Tech team that was set up to go 11-0 facing Georgia.
And can I say one thing? The committee said that Georgia Tech looked bad in that game, that they looked bad in all facets. Like they had over 500 yards of offense. They did not look bad in all facets. They looked terrible on defense. If you're going to say why you put them at 17, you can justify it with how the defense played. But don't say they looked bad in all facets of the game because they did not. They did not. The offense looked phenomenal.
Haynes King threw for over 400 yards, but you also gave up almost 600 yards of total offense.
So say that. That's okay to say. But the offense looked phenomenal.
Yeah, the offense looked very good.
Which is funny. That was probably the best their offenses looked all year.
Yeah, especially the passing attack, because Haynes King is not typically a true passing. He runs for it. Now, he did run for 100 yards. Haynes King had 500 yards himself.
You know what's funny? He probably wasn't limping.
No.
If Haynes King doesn't get hurt, can't win a game. He's got to get hurt in a game for Georgia Tech to win. If he doesn't look like he's about to be stretchered off, if he doesn't look like an injured person in Call of Duty, that you have to hit with a stim pack to heal him, then you're not going to win that game. He's got to go down at least once. Yeah.
And Georgia Tech, I don't want to say their dream season is not over. They still have plenty of opportunities to make the playoff here. But it certainly is a setback when you lose to NC State, who apparently NC State, their role is just spoiler this year.
Yeah.
Because they beat Virginia, They beat Virginia, and they beat Georgia Tech, and they still have Miami on the schedule here. So
and guess what NC State does really well, Jake?
Throw the ball.
Throw the football.
CJ Bailey can sling it. The game being in Miami, a little bit more difficult. We'll see how that plays out. But I would be a little nervous if I was a Miami fan playing NC State, because they either seem to come out and play flawless, or they come out and pretend they're a high school JV football team that doesn't know how to play.
They've got nothing to lose.
Another game this weekend, I was at the Ohio State-Penn State game. Andy Kotelnicki, it needs to be done at Penn State. Like I'm looking back and thinking, how did we think Andy Kotelnicki was a good offensive coordinator before the year started?
Can you pause it?
I mean, we got to have a conversation about Andy Kotelnicki. He came into the season and people thought that he was a bona fide top 5 offensive coordinator. And I mean, when he gets fired this offseason, because he's going to be fired, there's no way around it. I am not even sure if he will land a top 40 job.
His stock is plummeting. And one of the things, like, if he's trying to build a resume right now to get another job, that is what he's doing. He's got to put his best stuff out there to get another job. Some of the plays, Jake, that they called against Ohio State were just mind-numbing. Mind-numbing.
He ran multiple plays where they were misdirection with multiple people moving behind the line of scrimmage and then only having 1 or 2 guys go out for passes. And I'm not saying that they have the ability to beat Ohio State one-on-one down the edges. And you've got a quarterback making his second start. But I'll tell you, it makes Ohio State's job a lot easier if everyone hangs out behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. And when you're doing a triple reverse screen, whatever. Flea flicker, like you're giving the pass rush of Ohio State a lot of time to get back there and figure something out.
Yeah,
So
at least even if you don't make the play on those kind of things, as long as you disrupt it, it throws off the whole timing of everything.
right, because the dumbest thing, reverse takes time. A screen takes time. When you run a reverse, you're like I said, it takes time. You got the blocks develop. Everybody's going one way, even though you're going the other. And a screen, you're feign blocking so that you get out, and that way there's pretty much an open field for someone to go hit the quarterback. You putting both those two things together. I mean, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I just don't know. And Penn State's playing with fire right now. Their their third string quarterback, their backup right now is injured. And if they're out there playing with fire like this, like, you still have a season to play. Like, you have guys who are still, whether they know they will be there next year or not, are trying to win games.
Yeah.
They're trying to win games, and they're trying to, similar to Andy Kotelnicki, they're trying to put plays on tape. That way the coach knows, like, hey, these guys should be kept, and something for the new coach to go off of. Also, Julian Sayin is absolutely lighting up the skies right now.
He's insane.
A couple of his deep passes were absurd, and Jeremiah Smith is officially an alien. I mean, when a ball gets tipped to the line of scrimmage, and almost certainly it should be intercepted, and he one-hands it for a touchdown, you just know it's not your day if you're on defense.
Whatever.
Oklahoma eliminates Tennessee this past week. I think we can all agree that Tennessee, with 3 losses and 0 wins in the top 25, like, they're done. Like, they're not making the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah, it's over. And like, what stinks is Tennessee is not a bad team, and they've had a plethora of opportunities. You go back to the Georgia game. That game was won, and they blew it. The Alabama game, you can argue that they didn't have a shot in that one. I think they did. The pick 6 ruined that game. And now you come into this game, and again, you had ample opportunities to win, and you just couldn't quite get it done in the biggest opportunities. I mean, you couldn't protect the quarterback and turn the ball over too much, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
So I pulled up Joey Aguilar's game log. So Joey Aguilar has 8 interceptions so far this year. 5 have come in losses. Through 2 against Georgia, 1 against Alabama, the very crucial one, 2 against Oklahoma. He has taken 12 sacks so far this year, and 9 of those have come in the 3 losses. That is your exact reason right there. Like, the quarterback position, Aguilar has played great at times. It's what's funny. Two of the other interceptions came against Mississippi State, which went to overtime, and he was also sacked twice there. Basically, if you protect him and he is not making mistakes, I know it sounds cliche, but you're going to win games. Problem is, he made too many mistakes. The passing defense it failed them. The Tennessee passing defense failed them multiple times this year.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you have a quarterback throw for 393 yards on Oklahoma, who is considered one of the better defenses, and you can't come out on top.
Yeah.
And really, like, it was a 9-point game. They kicked a field goal with 47 seconds left and tried to make it a game. I mean, Oklahoma felt like they were in control of this game. There was a lot of field goals. I think Oklahoma kicked 4 field goals in this game. So it felt like Oklahoma really had more control of this game, even if the score is a little more indicative of it being a close game.
Do we need to make a comment on Oklahoma's kicker's pants?
Yeah. Why is he wearing, like, the biker shorts?
Yeah. What did Kirk Herbstreit call him? Daisy Dukes. He's out here kicking field goals and Daisy Dukes.
Yeah. Are you concerned about John Mateer?
Absolutely. I mean, he's still very injured.
19 of 29 for 159, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, ran for 80 yards against Tennessee. Tennessee is one of the worst passing defenses in the country. I know Boo Carter played, and I don't remember if McCoy played or not. But I mean, I'm concerned about John Mateer. If Mateer is not healthy in 2 weeks when they play Alabama, this game's not going to be close.
No.
I'm very confident in saying that if Mateer cannot throw the ball with accuracy, consistency, zip, Alabama is going to run through them. If Joey Aguilar can throw 400 yards on Oklahoma's defense, I will take Alabama's offense over Tennessee's offense.
See, but the thing that's going to be the difference in the game, I think is going to come down to the offenses, or excuse me, the defenses. And man, I trust Oklahoma's defense. I trust Oklahoma's defense a lot, Jake.
You know, they just gave up like 500 yards last weekend.
I realize
they won.
I realize, but and then they also forced turnovers. They also got off the court after the quarterback, and like sometimes you're going to have one of those games. You're on the road. It's an intense environment. It's Neyland at night, which phenomenal intro.
It's going to be Bryant Denny at night.
Yeah, but but Oklahoma's defense is what won them the game against Tennessee, regardless of the fact that they had that many yards. They still won them the game.
Yeah, but I also will take Ty Simpson over Joey Aguilar, and I'll take those receivers. I'm concerned about Oklahoma because I think they're going to have to score points. I don't think that they were able to get a fumble or interception, or I forget technically how that. I think it was a fumble that they stripped and they scored a touchdown that way.
Yeah. Which, by the way, talk about a man touchdown.
He dragged it 15 yards. He dragged that offensive lineman like 15 yards before he finally broke away, and then he almost stepped out of bounds, which was crazy. Yes, they forced turnovers. Ty Simpson's a lot harder to pick off, especially when you're going against Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, and Ryan Williams. Not that Mike Matthews, Brandon Staley, and Chris Buzzell are not good, but I'll take the Alabama guys by a sizable margin. And I don't know if you can guarantee getting 3 turnovers against Alabama. If you had to go in against Alabama and say we need 3 turnovers to win the game,
yeah, that ain't happening.
That's not a good plan for success. Winning the turnover battle is one thing. Saying that you need to win like 3-0, that's pretty darn hard to win the game. Yeah, now, Alabama can't run the ball, but neither could Tennessee. And I like Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, and Ryan Williams. Oklahoma does not have the easiest schedule remaining. Even if they somehow beat Alabama, they still have Missouri, who we'll see what it looks like. Matt Zoller is just going to play this weekend against A&M. We'll get in that game here in a minute. And then LSU, which I'm actually going to be a little bit higher on LSU now that Brian Kelly's out. I think LSU might be a better team without Brian Kelly at the helm.
Oh, absolutely. And you got to think they get a jolt.
Like, I think LSU is going to win. I don't think LSU beats Alabama this weekend, but that game against Oklahoma at the end of the year, when you talk about, final game of the year, final game for a lot of these guys, wouldn't shock me. Also, we'll see what's up with Oklahoma if they lose to Alabama. This game, not that it's meaningless, but not going to have a ton of implications on it.
Well, maybe later on in the year. I think this game.
I'm saying the last game of the year, if LSU and if Oklahoma loses to Alabama, they have 3 losses. That LSU-Oklahoma game doesn't have a ton of meaning on it because I don't think Oklahoma at 3 losses is. It's hard to guarantee because Oklahoma, when you look at their schedule, they're going to have they lost to Texas. They lost to Ole Miss. Right now, they have a Michigan win, which is looking good. Tennessee win. We'll see how Tennessee finishes the season. Tennessee's probably going to either be 9-3 or 8-4. You're really hoping for these teams to win out. And then you need to beat Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. If you lose one of them, you're done. I just think that it's hard to plan on a 3-loss team getting in when we're already talking about 1 or 2 loss ACC teams having trouble getting in. All right, let's move into this upcoming weekend. We got some good games this weekend. Actually, kind of a small slate. There's a lot of teams that are off this weekend. So let's talk about this upcoming weekend of games. Biggest game of the weekend is Texas Tech and BYU. This game is in Texas Tech. So BYU will visit Lubbock this weekend. To me, this is big for the quarterbacks. Bear Bachmeier, what can he do against this Texas Tech defensive front?
Not much. And the only thing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake. What string quarterback is going to be starting for Texas Tech this weekend?
I'm pretty sure Baron Morton is playing.
Okay.
Will Hammond is done for the year, so that is a concern that if Baron Morton does not play or Baron Morton gets injured at any point, they're on their third string quarterback who I looked him up earlier this year. He is not good. It's Mitch Griffiths, who I believe is like a fifth-year quarterback. Yeah, so he played at Wake Forest from 2020 to 2023. Didn't play at all last year. Stepped away from football, and then announced he was returning and joined Texas Tech. He has a career 2,169 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not terrible. His last season at Wake Forest in 2023, he has just under 60% completion, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not the worst, but not a guy that I really want to be putting my playoff chances on the shoulders of.
Yeah, no. You lost me for a second because I was coughing.
So I don't really want to put Mitch Griffiths on my playoff, my playoff hopes if Baron Morton was to go down. So the Texas Tech season is really coming down to the health of Baron Morton, which feels very similar to the Utah Cam Rising era.
Yeah, it really is. And then you go back to the Cam Rising era as well. And what got Utah through a lot of those games was their defense. So I think Texas Tech is really going to have to lean on this defense, doing what it's done pretty much all year. That they've had some struggles here and there. This BYU offense is not flawless by any means. Bear Bachmeier is not the best passer in the world, but they've found a way to win in every single game. And the matchup I want to see, Jake, is what does Bear Bachmeier do if they take away the run? If Texas Tech can take away the run, how does Bear Bachmeier react to that? We've seen him throw the ball, but can he do that against Texas Tech?
Yeah, that rushing attack versus the Texas Tech front seven is going to be the key here. BYU is 13th in long rushing plays. They have 57 rushing plays of 10 yards or more. The interesting thing is Texas Tech averages almost 10 tackles for loss a game. They have 97 tackles for loss already this year.
God.
So that is a ton of times that you're pushing people behind the sticks. And when are those TFLs going to come? Are they going to come on first down? Are they going to come on second down? And even if they aren't getting behind the line of scrimmage, like how many of them are going to be, no gain, 1 yard, where all of a sudden you're in 2nd and 9, you're in 3rd and 7.
Right.
What are those situations going to be? Because Texas Tech is also 4th in passes defended. They've defended 54 passes. They're averaging 6 passes defended a game. And when you're going against a freshman quarterback who you believe his accuracy isn't going to be stellar. Like Bear Bachmeier, we know he can run the ball. He is not a polished passer right now. He's a true freshman. Why would he be?
Right.
But can Texas Tech disrupt him? Can they get in the backfield? Can they knock Bear Bachmeier off of his game? If BYU can find a consistent running game, I like their chances here. But the problem is that is not easy to do against this Texas Tech front.
No, not even close. And Texas Tech offensively, if the defense keeps giving them opportunities and Bear Morton is healthy, it could go sour for BYU very quickly. I mean, because the only game I can really point out and say that BYU proved that they're legitimate is against Utah. And that game was awesome. That game was absolutely phenomenal. Can they get up in Lubbock on an away game the same way they did against Utah? I don't know, Jake. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think part of the key here for BYU is scoring early. Like you have to keep this game close because your identity is rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. If you get down 14 points, you don't need to panic, but it makes it a lot harder to try to win that game if you're 18 minutes in the game and you're down 2 scores.
Right.
You start to feel a little bit of urgency. If you can score on your first drive, take a little bit of pressure off of your true freshman quarterback. Now, granted, he's played in big games already this year. Played against Utah. He has played against Iowa State, Arizona. Been on the road a couple times. I could see them giving Texas Tech a game. Problem is, I think Texas Tech is just better. I think Texas Tech is just better. I love the story of BYU. The thing is, we might see this game twice because if Texas Tech wins this game, there's a real chance that we see a rematch here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, odds are we'll see it twice.
I have a good feeling that we'll see this twice. Second game here, let's talk about Texas A&M and Missouri. Another ranked matchup here. A&M is going to go on the road here to Columbia, Missouri. Big game here. The spread we'll talk about here in a little bit is interesting because it's only a single-digit spread, and Missouri is starting a true freshman quarterback with Matt Zollers.
The reason it's a single-digit spread is twofold. Missouri was off last week, so they had a bye week, so they've had an additional week to get Matt Zollers ready for this game. And two, their defense is phenomenal. And if you've listened to our show, you know that I'm very, very high on that Missouri defense. And what is Texas A&M known for? They're known for defense, and they're known for big plays on offense. Like, they rely on the big play. So they can run the ball. They're pretty consistent in running the football. But in terms of passing, they're not very efficient passing. But when they do complete their passes, it's huge. We go back and talk about when Texas A&M played LSU. I think the lowest yards per catch was 10 yards a catch. Everyone else was 17 plus or 16 plus, I think it was, which is absolutely insane, Jake. So when you've got an explosive offense like that relies on the big play, and you play against a very fundamentally sound Missouri defense, could be tough. Points could be tough. However, if Matt Zollers comes in there and plays like crap, which he very much could, and you keep giving that offense the ball and opportunities against a defense, I don't care how good the defense is, it's not going to hold up.
Yeah, the feels like, how many explosive plays can A&M hit? How many explosive plays can they hit? Because you talked about when you're averaging, 15, 16 yards a catch, when you've got Marcel Reed who can run around and extend plays, and then not only extend plays where he'll take off and run for 30, 40 yards, it makes it real tough on an opposing team. And it makes it even tougher when you're putting the pressure on a true freshman quarterback. Like, to me, this is an Ahmad Hardy game. Like, he needs to be fed the ball 30 times.
Yes, he does. And if he can't play well, it's not going to be good for Missouri. It's not. It's going to come a lot of it's going to come down to Ahmad Hardy and his ability to make things happen. And you know what? Texas A&M knows that. Texas A&M knows that. So it's not like it's going to be some shock when he gets fed the ball 20 plus times.
It almost feels like the game plan for Texas A&M needs to be load the box, take Hardy out of the game, and make Zollers beat you. Yeah. Because, Zollers has not really played much. Bo Prabula got injured at the end of their game against Vanderbilt. Zollers has only thrown 29 passes. Now he's 20-29 for 213, 2 touchdowns. I don't take a lot of that into account. There's a lot of garbage time play in there. What can Zollers do? I don't know how mobile he is. I don't know what kind of ability they might be able to swing in there. I'm not super knowledgeable about him, and I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not going to try to fake it. Yeah, but if Zollers is able to be a little bit more of a mobile quarterback and get him moving, like, the offensive coordinator has to be able to put him in easy situations, especially early. Get him to have some easy passes. We don't need to be stretching the field 20, 25 yards out the chute in the first quarter. You need to put him in positions where he can't make mistakes. Yes. You need to let him sling it. I'm pretty sure he was a high 4-star quarterback coming out of high school. The kid has talent, but you don't need to put him in position where this A&M defense can tee off on him and get 2 or 3 interceptions.
He shouldn't be the one that has to go in there and win the game.
Correct.
Period. Correct. And if he is, it could be a long day.
You can look at all sorts of stats about Missouri, especially their offense, but I think you have to kind of throw those stats out the window here when you go into your third string quarterback, because Tommy Locke was supposed to be the second string quarterback at the beginning of the year and got injured like on his third play.
Right.
So Missouri's defense has to step up. They've got to limit these explosive plays. Honestly, the way they win is if you think back to the Ohio State-Missouri bowl game a couple years ago where Missouri just won with defense and wasn't allowing Ohio State to move. Problem is, this A&M offense is way better. Like, they have to find a way to keep A&M under 20 points. If you keep them under 20 points, you've got a puncher's chance. But if they are scoring 28, 30 points, I don't trust it's your freshman quarterback to be able to go shot for shot like that.
No, and you shouldn't. And like we saw him in a very limited capacity against was that Vanderbilt they were playing?
Yeah, I don't even know if Zollers really had a passing attempt. I think it was pretty late in that game. I'm going to pull it up here real quick. Never mind. Matt Zollers was 14 of 23. Apparently, I am just completely forgetting that game.
Well, we watched it in a bar with multiple other games on.
I thought Brabula got injured like in the final couple minutes. I am completely wrong on this. I apologize. He's 14-23 for 138 and a touchdown. So never mind. That's actually pretty good for coming in as late as coming in on last second notice.
But you admitted we're not Zoll knowers. We've got some work to do on Zollers, and we can't be expected to know everything on this guy. We've seen him play once in limited capacity.
Limited capacity. Yeah, but the A&M defense is pretty good. I will be interested to see how they play it. Ahmad Hardy needs a strong day, though, just kind of like what we said.
Yeah.
Another game, 3:30 game this weekend. I think this is a very, very intriguing matchup between Oregon and Iowa. Very old school, traditional Big Ten matchup. Traditional Big Ten matchup. One that we've always classic November Big Ten game. I think similar to what we just talked about. I think the key for Oregon is, can you get to 20 points? If you can get to 20 points, I think you're going to win. Mark Gronowski can run the ball. Mark Gronowski, who we all thought was going to be an elite passing quarterback, has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. But Mark Gronowski can run the ball.
Hell yeah, he can. We got to love that about him.
He can run the ball. To me, Iowa needs to muddy this game up. How can you force, some 4th down stops, turnovers, sacks, get Dante Moore out of his comfort zone? This game is at Iowa. I think this is going to be a hostile environment because all of a sudden with Iowa fans seeing they're at 20, they know they're not out of the playoff hunt. You've got a month to go up 10 spots basically, and a win over Oregon would jumpstart that for you. You jump up 5-6 spots for sure. I think Iowa is going to be a hostile environment on Saturday.
It should be. I mean, if they have any inkling that they're going to make this college football playoff, this is the game you have to win. And honestly, Jake, the only way that Iowa wins is if it's a ugly, ugly game. I mean, it's got to be ugly as homemade sin. Oregon, if they win, it's going to look sexy. But if Iowa wins, it is going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, bad game. And it's going to come down to Iowa's defense, which I think they're very capable of muddying this up. I mean, we've seen them play phenomenally all year. That's Iowa's MO. Play some really good defense.
Phil Parker is probably the best defensive coordinator in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And but what they do offensively is they're able to run the football, and they're starting to hit a rhythm. They're starting to get a rhythm, and Mark Gronowski is finding a way to make the offense click. And early on in the season, he was not. They were awful, but statistically, he looks terrible. And if you box score watch, you're going to say, this dude's a terrible quarterback. Why are we talking about him? Why are we spending more than 5 minutes talking about Mark Gronowski on the walk-on red shirts? That's because he has found a way to get this team to 6-2 and now ranked 20th in the country. And they have a fighter's chance against anybody they play. They really do.
Mark Gronowski has 11 rushing touchdowns. Like you don't accidentally find your way into 11 rushing touchdowns in early November.
No, and ask Minnesota about him. I think they'll tell you all about him. He was all right in that game, I'm pretty sure.
I'll be interested because Gronowski still has less than 1,000 passing yards for the year, which is disgusting. And Iowa is still one of the worst passing teams in the country. The thing is, they do actually an okay job protecting him. They've only allowed 11 sacks on the year, so that's just over 1 a game. And they continue to just pound the rock. They average 5 yards a carry. They need to avoid some stupid mistakes. They should have put Penn State away earlier, but allowed a blocked kick right before halftime. Penn State returned it for a touchdown. All of a sudden, when they were up, I believe they were up 10-7. No. Yeah, they were up 10-7. And then all of a sudden, they return a kick. Penn State goes up 14-10. Penn State scores a touchdown to start the third quarter. It's 21-10. And then Iowa has to crawl back in to win the game. You don't allow a blocked field goal. Penn State doesn't go into the half with momentum. Like, you have to avoid those kind of momentum-killing mistakes in order to win this game. You're muted.
Sorry, I was coughing again and forgot to come off of mute. Yeah, I agree. And special teams can lose you games. They can lose you games. It is a third of the game. And if you don't play good special teams, you are going to lose. Period.
They just have to avoid those kind of mistakes. The over-under for this game, I saw it. Disgusting.
What is
disgusting. 40.5. 40.5.
Well, and honestly,
absolute filthy line for this game.
And you think about it, what did Oregon do when they played against Penn State? Let's say Penn State has a very similar team to Iowa. That might be disrespectful to Iowa a little bit, but defensively, talent-wise, scheme-wise, they should be somewhat similar. And
Penn State
Oregon struggled.
Dante Moore.
Oregon struggled against them.
Yeah. It was. This game could honestly be kind of similar because Penn State had like 100 yards entering the fourth quarter, and it wouldn't shock me if Iowa has like 150 yards going into the fourth quarter here, and this game is sitting at like 10-3. I think this is going to be an old school kind of field possession battle for a little bit. I think Oregon breaks through at some point. Oregon just has more talent. I mean, you want to talk about a guy like DeCorian Moore is on Oregon's team. Yeah. They've got the running backs. They got the stable of running backs to have a day. Jordan Davison has 10 rushing touchdowns. Noah Whittington, Deer Hill. Like, these guys, they have a stable of running backs to use, and then Dante Moore can pick you apart. Kenyon Sadiq is out there, just a mismatch nightmare at tight end. Phil Parker, I'm not going to doubt Phil Parker. The dude's a defensive genius. He's been doing it for 3 decades at this point. But I don't know if Iowa has the personnel to match up for what they need.
Yeah. I don't think so. And that's why it has to be an ugly game. You have to rely on making Oregon make mistakes in the special teams, turning the ball over, etc. If it's an ugly game, Iowa's got a chance. But like you said, talent wise, Oregon should win hands down. Should be easy.
I just pulled up the weather for Iowa City, Iowa on Saturday.
It's gonna be ugly, isn't it?
46 degrees, calling for rain and snow. 17-mile-an-hour winds.
I love it.
Oh boy,
it's happening.
This could be an ugly game. Ugly. All right, final game we're going to talk about here, LSU and Bama, which feels like a game that should be way higher on this, but I feel like we can't not talk about LSU and Bama. Like, this is usually one of the biggest games on the schedule. LSU obviously just fired Brian Kelly. Alabama, they're number 4 in the college football playoff rankings. Like, without Brian Kelly, what are you expecting from LSU this game? I'm
expecting some juice. I'm expecting some a team to play with their hair down a little bit. I'm gonna see them take some shots. The offensive coordinator, I believe, is the coach that took over as the interim head coach. Am I correct on that?
To forget Frank Wilson, who I forget what Frank Wilson did before. You might be right with offensive coordinator.
Anyways, I think this is going to be a game where they just let it rip. I mean, you have nothing to lose as LSU in this game. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. So if LSU comes out there and they jump on them quick, I mean, it's in LSU, correct?
It is in LSU. Why do I think it's? I believe it's in LSU. I'm blanking on this for some reason. Sorry, people. This is way past my bedtime, and we are recording this. This game is in Alabama. Never mind. It is in Bryant-Denny.
Okay, it's in Alabama. That makes a big difference. There is a chance because two college football teams are stepping onto the gridiron. Maybe they're a little energized because of Brian Kelly. I think we might see them jump out early and look successful, but I think Alabama's just going to put the clamps on them. And the reason for that is LSU just cannot run the football. And if they can't run the football, it's going to make the job so much easier on a struggling Alabama defense. I mean, they're not great at putting pressure on the quarterback. They're not great at tackles for loss. So if they know that they're not going to be having to run the football, it might make it a lot easier if they just have to pin their ears back and get after Garrett Nussmeier, who can't move. I mean, and who's very injured. I'm surprised he's still starting.
The interesting thing about this when I looked at it is neither of these teams are great at protecting the quarterback, and neither of these teams are great at rushing the quarterback. For pass rush, LSU is 57th and Alabama is 82nd. In protecting their quarterback, LSU is 77th and Alabama is 72nd. So which one of these teams are actually be able to take advantage of the other team's pass rush? Like, is LSU just going to win the battle and be able to protect Garrett Nussmeier and let him have a chance to pick apart the Alabama defense? Is LSU going to be able to get to Ty Simpson and throw him off of his game? I don't know. Alabama can throw the ball. They have 102 passes of over 10 yards already this year. They obviously have the stable of wide receivers, Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, that are difficult to guard.
Ryan Williams is listed as questionable for this game. I do want to say that.
It's fine. He's the third best out of the three anyways.
Oof.
That might be a hot take, but Ryan Williams is the showcase guy that he can make the incredible catch, but the consistency isn't there.
Yeah, I agree.
But Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton are just dogs. Like, game after game, they are there. They're fighting. They're getting extra yards. They're making plays. I love watching both those guys play.
Especially Jeremy Bernard. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that dude, he can play. I think Ryan Grubb's going to have some creative offensive plays dialed up for this LSU game. I just am curious, are we going to see a different LSU team without having Brian Kelly there? Like, with Brian Kelly, the reason they're being held back, this is clearly a talented LSU team. It's not like they're bad. Like, they're preseason top 10 for a reason. There's talent on the roster. But was it a Brian Kelly thing, or is it a scheme thing? Is it a personnel thing? Like, is it just we overvalued them?
And I think we'll see, because I think guys will want to come out there and prove that. Mm-hmm. I think guys are going to come out there and say, I can freaking play. And we weren't able to show that with this clown at head coach.
I just think the most telling sign is that Brian Kelly gets fired. The next day they get a commitment from somebody else.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And I'm pretty sure the kid was from Louisiana.
I think he was too. I think he was from Louisiana. I think he flipped from Louisiana Tech, which, of course, like, that's a kid that's going to go to LSU no matter what. Like, if he gets the offer from LSU, like, that's the dream school. Like,
right.
If you're living in the state of Louisiana and you get an offer, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to go because it's your dream school.
I would have to assume that he was maybe a guy that some of the other coaches wanted, and Brian Kelly was not a fan of.
I have a feeling that there's a couple states in the country that if the big school in your state offers, there's a pretty good chance that that kid wants to go there.
Yeah, I agree.
Ohio is one of them.
Yeah.
Louisiana is one of them. When you get, like, I could see Tennessee kind of being that a little bit, but I can also Tennessee, depending where you are in the state, you're closer to some of those other ones. Texas, a little bit. It depends. Texas is so big. It depends. But the University of Texas offer carries a lot of weight. But there's a handful of states out there that if the home state offers you, like, there's a pretty good chance you're going. Number one kid to Alabama for the longest time was going to Alabama. Now, granted, that was a Nick Saban thing, but also you're either probably going to Alabama or Auburn, depending on what side of the state you're on.
Yeah. Georgia. I mean, well, no, Georgia, they go all over the place, but
Number one kid in Georgia's goal should always be to lock down top 5 kids in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, they really should be. I mean, and if they did that, they would be like they are now.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to our Gridiron Spicy's take of the week. Just like bold college football takes, Gridiron Spice Company brings flavor to every meal, from their signature varsity blend to the fiery hot route Cajun-inspired Go Long. These seasonings are built for game day. Head over to gridironspiceco.com and use code WALKON for 10% off your order. Gridiron Spice, where football meets flavor. So last week, I said Jeremiah Smith had scored 3 touchdowns. He only scored 2.
Oh, no.
That was close. That was close. You whiffed saying that Miami would beat SMU by 21 and SMU won. Yeah. Yeah. So much for that.
Yeah.
So much for that.
I was a little off on that one. Maybe just a little bit.
So for my spiciest take of the week, I am taking Oregon and Iowa to combine to have less than 20. I'm going to say 29 points this weekend. I'm going to go 10 points below that over under of 40.5.
That's disgusting. I think you're crazy. I think that is a extremely spicy. That's like if they had a ghost pepper spice, I would go with that one. That's a pretty spicy take.
What's yours?
I think Mississippi State upsets Georgia this weekend.
I'm curious. Do you want to wait till we get into our picks to explain that, or do you want to tell that now?
I can kind of talk through it now. I mean, I think Mississippi State is able to keep up with anybody offensively. I think this also matters. Who's where? Did I put it in the pick'em?
It's at Mississippi State.
It's at Mississippi State, which plays a role. It plays a huge role. Can you listen to cowbells? Are you gonna be able to listen to cowbells? Like
Jeff Levy finally got his first SEC win.
Yeah, and he's gotten close. He's gotten close. They should have beaten Texas. They should have beaten Tennessee, and they finally got the monkey off their back. I think Georgia is due for a slip up.
They were close last week. They were very, very close last week, and I'm just kind of surprised. I've kind of got to talk about that. Was it a catch or was it incomplete?
I don't know, man. Like I've seen so many angles of that.
My gut was that it's a catch, but I understand why you can't overturn it.
And honestly, like it was called incomplete on the field. I couldn't prove that it didn't hit the ground. None of the angles that I saw, I was like, "Yep, didn't hit the ground." I feel confident in that, and that's me. And usually, I'm like, I'm all about it being a catch, but I don't know, Jake. I don't know.
So let's get into our Week 11 picks presented by Battle Bets. Speaking of bad beats, though, Gunnar Stockton knees the ball at the 1-yard line, preventing Georgia from covering. Georgia wins by 4 points. They score a touchdown. Georgia wins by 11. That is a bad beat. If anybody had them in their Battle Bets, I'm sorry. That's a terrible one. But college football just got a whole lot better. Forget Vegas. Forget risking real money. You can play for free in our league with Battle Bets. Here's how it works. You get fake money to bet on the biggest games each week and track all of your picks live as the action is going on. Best part, it's not for bragging rights. It's just for bragging rights. Leagues have real prizes. You can stack your points, prove you are the smartest bettor in your group, and take home the crown. It's free. It's fun. It's built for college football fans just like us. Hop on now, join Battle Bets, and see what you have and how you can beat everybody else. All right, I went 4-6 last week. You went 2-8. Not our best weeks whatsoever.
Jake, I've gone 2-8 2 weeks in a row. This is awful. This is so freaking bad. We
are getting close here to the end of the season, and I have a 7-pick lead right now.
Can I tell y'all, if you want to be responsible, do the opposite of what I do. I mean, I just have to call a spade a spade. I'm doing terribly this year. It's rigged. Jake has rigged this. So don't think I'm not on you, Jake. I've got my tinfoil hat on. I know you're doing something. You're finagling some numbers. But anyway, I can't prove it yet.
All right, let's jump into our first games here. San Diego State is a 7.5-point favorite on the road at Hawaii. San Diego State needs this win to stay in contention for the college football playoff.
I think San Diego State gets this one. I think they win. I think they cover. I think that defense is phenomenal at San Diego State. Outside of Hawaii winning week 1 against Stanford, I haven't seen much of the Rainbow Warriors. But I do like San Diego State to get this one.
Yeah, Hawaii's won 6 games already this year. Love seeing the Rainbow Warriors winning that many games. But you mentioned it. San Diego State's defense, they have 3 shutouts already this year. Even if they don't win by a lot, I think they cover the 7.5. Friday night game, Tulane is going to Memphis, and Memphis is a 3.5-point favorite this weekend.
So you look at Tulane losing to, what was it, UTSA last week, or was it UTEP?
Yeah, UTSA, and not just losing, getting absolutely shredded by UTSA.
So one of two things could happen. That could have been, hey, we got caught with our pants down. We're still a really good football team. Or they're reeling. In Memphis, who's fighting for their college football playoff hopes, could come in there and just do the same thing that just happened to them from UTSA. So I'm going that Memphis will continue on their roll.
I'm going to take Tulane. I think this is a weird bounce back game. It's Friday night at Memphis. I think Tulane, they're coming off a Thursday night loss to UTSA on the road. Go back on the road here, understanding that Tulane is still a good team. Jake Retzloff did not have a great game. I'm going to take Tulane to win this game. I think they upset Memphis and add more chaos here to the American. Northwestern is on the road at UCLA. Northwestern actually is 1 win away from being bowl eligible. Didn't think we'd be talking about that at this point in November, but here we are. USC is a 14.5-point favorite. Who you like?
This is why do you make me pick games like this? USC, but like, Jake, this is like what? So my mind is telling me to go to USC, but this is a game that they slip up and either don't win or just look horrible in. But I think Lincoln Riley, who allegedly, according to Josh Pate, it might be coaching for his job.
I didn't understand if he was talking about coaching for his job or somebody else is interested in him.
Right. Oh. So either way, he's coaching for a job.
I don't know if he was inferring that, in LSU or a Florida, and there may be like a mutual parting of ways being like, hey, like this didn't work. Maybe you should go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or if it's USC is looking to buy it out. His buyout is rumored to be like $80 million, like even more than James Franklin. So it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me if they were to fire him. But I'm going to take USC to win and to cover this. I think cross-country road trip, short week. I like USC to win this game. Although I think Northwestern's coming off a bye, so I think it's helpful for them. So I'm going to take USC to cover this at home. Worst game of the weekend. Florida State is going to Clemson. I don't know why you put this one on here, but it's probably because of Clemson, but it is a terrible game between two teams that have a combined 7 wins.
I wanted to put it on there because there wasn't that many good games left out of the 9 that we picked. It
is a tough slate this weekend.
And I think there might be a coach on one of the sidelines coaching for their job. So I think it's something we can keep our eye on. That's Mike Norvell. I'm not talking about my king. I got Clemson covering this one because I'm a disgusting human being and I have to pick them. They're favorites.
You don't have to.
I have to. I don't have to, but I have to. In my heart, I have to.
Okay,
I shouldn't.
I'm going to take Florida State.
Yeah, that's
because we already talked about how Clemson's been favored in every single game, and I'm not even sure if Clemson has covered the spread yet this year. So I'm just going to take the safe option here. And pick
we cover the spread against Boston College and UNC. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Great. 2 teams that have a combined 3 wins. Great. Granted, Florida State only has 4, but here we are. All right. LSU is on the road at Alabama. Alabama's a 10.5-point favorite this weekend. Who you like?
Alabama.
I'm right there with you. Wide receiver core for Alabama is too much. I think that LSU is going to come out with a little bit of jolt energy. It would not shock me if LSU is leading at the end of the first quarter. I don't think they're leading at halftime, though.
No.
Virginia is on the road at Wake Forest. A kind of a tricky game here. Virginia is 6.5-point favorite on the road at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a much better team than people expected. Jake Dickert has got it going over there. You like Virginia, like Wake Forest?
Obviously, I like Virginia, but this is a game in which I would not be surprised if Virginia wins and doesn't cover. But give me the Wahoos, give me the Cavs.
I'm right there with you. This is going to be a close game. I think Wake Forest is going to give them problems. Wake Forest is, like I said, a significantly better team. Wake Forest is going to make a bowl game probably this year. And most people had Wake Forest as a 2 or 3 win team this year. So making a bowl game is a significant step up, especially for Jake Dickert and his first season at Wake Forest. I would not be shocked if Virginia drops this game. It would add just the chaos to the ACC this year. But I think Virginia takes care of business this weekend. Not by a lot. I don't think this is by 14, 17 points. If they take care of business, it's going to be 7, 10.
I need them to win this game because that's when I'm going to go scorched earth on Shahan Jararaja on laughing at me for saying Virginia won 9 games. I got to get to the 9 games before I can dance.
We just have to isolate which team it is for you next year so that we can invite Shahan on so that way you can go Indiana, Virginia, and then whatever your dream team is next year.
That's right.
So he can go 3 for 3. All right, Oregon is on the road at Iowa. Oregon is a 6.5-point favorite this weekend. Who you like?
Give me Oregon. Talent wins. Talent wins. It's at Iowa, which scares me, but talent wins.
I'm going to take Iowa to cover. I don't know if Iowa wins this game, but we talked about it getting ugly. The weather potentially calling for snow is hilarious. And I think that this game is going to be ugly. I think Iowa can find a way to muddy the waters. I'm expecting Iowa to do something weird. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they start the game with like an onside kick and just try to do something crazy to steal possession.
I mean, that's the Ferentz way, baby.
He's going to find a way to do something.
Is he retiring after this year? Did I forget? Like,
I haven't seen anything.
Someone put something online, and it's like as if this was his last opportunity to win a ranked game. And I'm like, I didn't think he was leaving.
No, I mean, he definitely doesn't have too many years left coaching. He's starting to get up there in age, but I haven't seen anything about him retiring yet. Also, I'm figuring that they're going to name a coach in waiting. I don't know how Phil Parker has got to be up there in age. I figure Phil Parker goes when Kirk Ferentz goes.
Brian Ferentz?
I saw someone saying that Phil Parker is actually only 62 years old. So in theory, you could hire Phil Parker as your head coach. Ferentz is 70. He turns 71 next year. So you got to think he's only got 2 or 3 more years left. Sure, make Phil Parker your head coach after this. Texas A&M is 6.5-point favorite at Mizzou this weekend.
Texas A&M.
I don't trust the true freshman quarterback, and A&M has the ability to have all these explosive plays. I'm going to take the Aggies by 6.5. I would not be shocked if Texas A&M wins this game by 17 points.
But at the same time, this is a classic slip-up game.
Oh, yes, it is. It is. But I think the way they win by 17 is by winning 24-7 because Missouri struggles to move the ball with a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Georgia is an 8.5-point favorite on the road at Mississippi State. You talked about it already. You like the Bulldogs this weekend. You like the Cowbells.
I like the Bulldogs. I am picking the Bulldogs. I'm not going to tell you which one, though. No, I'm going to Mississippi State to at least cover. Obviously, my spicy take is that they win, but I think they'll at least cover. That offense is just, man, it's good. And which tells me, if you're a Mississippi State fan, I'm really sorry that you're probably going to get your tails cut.
You know, I'm thinking about this. I feel like I should have went Mississippi State because they played so many close games, but I am going to take Georgia here. It's crunch time, and Kirby Smart seems to play well down the stretch, gets his guys ready down the stretch. I'm going to take Georgia here to cover the 8.5. I think this game is going to be closer longer than it should, though. Final game here, we got BYU at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 10.5-point favorite in a top 10 matchup, which is kind of crazy. Who do you like?
Texas Tech. Specifically because Baron Morton is healthy. I like the defense. No. I'll take that back. I think Texas Tech wins. I think BYU covers. So let me take that back. I'm picking BYU to cover, but I think Texas Tech wins that game.
I am with you right there as well. I think the defenses can do enough. The concern I have is Bear Bachmeier.
Yeah.
And LJ Martin, I don't know if he's questionable or doubtful for this game at running back. That is a factor for sure. If you don't have an experienced running back there, it's going to be a little bit harder, a little bit more on your quarterback. how's your true freshman quarterback going to do in this game? This is your, not necessarily your season, but if you win, you've got a very clear path and you've got space to make the Big 12 championship. You lose and you are fighting for your life the rest of the way to make the playoff.
Yep.
We saw BYU fall apart last year. They lost a couple of games in November, started off hot. Are we going to see that again, or is BYU going to get over that hump? We'll see. We'll see. Well, that does it for our episode today. Appreciate everybody being with us to move it back one day. If you aren't doing so already, make sure to follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you get your social media platforms. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple. Leave us a rate. Helps us out a ton. And make sure to go follow Will on Twitter @WalkOnMoose. With that being said, we will see everybody again next week.